What we need to do is to do what every other major country on earth does, guarantee health care to all people. One of the options is a 7.5% payroll tax on employers, which will save them substantial sums of money.
That was, of course, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who joins us now on set here in the spin room. Senator Sanders, thank you so much for being with us.
I agree with that guy. I thought that was a brilliant remark.
Let me ask you about that guy. That guy is a front runner. And I
learned tonight.
How'd that feel? Do you feel like you successfully convinced people who are skeptical of many things about your campaign, particularly how you're going to pay for your plans?
I do. Look, the truth is nothing I am saying is radical. I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border. They manage to provide health care to every man, woman, and child, spending half as much per capita as we do. Look, the bottom line is, do we have the guts to take on the pharmaceutical industry that charges us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs? Do we have the courage to take on the healthcare industry? Combined, they made $100 billion in profits last year. That's what this fight is about. Nobody can defend a system which is so wasteful, so expensive, and leaves 87 million people uninsured or underinsured.
Senator, can I ask you about your comments about former Cuban leader Fidel Castro? You got a chance to discuss the substance of it in the debate. Let me ask about the raw politics. You know that there are at least 2 South Florida Democratic congresswomen who have expressed grave concern with what you said and are concerned that even they, other Democrats across the state of Florida, could suffer if they have to share a ticket with someone who is sympathetic to at least some of the Castro legacy. What would you say to them?
2 responses. Number one, truth is truth. If somebody in Saudi Arabia or any country in the world teaches illiterate people to read, you can tell me that's a bad thing? It is not. Barack Obama made the point that Cuba had made good progress in healthcare and education. Cuba is an authoritarian country. I have decried and condemned authoritarianism, whether it's on the left or the right, all over the world. Second point is the way we are going to win in Florida and in every other state in this country. And the reason I think I am ahead of Trump in the last 47 out of 50 national polls, ahead of him in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, is to grow, to have the largest voter turnout in the history of this country. And the only way you do it is by talking to the issues that the political establishment has long ignored. Truth is, we have massive income and wealth inequality. Truth is that working people have not seen a real wage increase in 45 years. We have today
go ahead. But on this issue of the potential political peril you and Democrats could suffer in Florida, Congresswoman Donna Shalala said, come on down to Miami and meet with the people who have been affected by his regime. Would you be willing to do that and hear them out?
I go all over the country, of course. Cuba is a dictatorship. I've said that 8 million times. But that does not mean to say, as Obama pointed out, that even under a dictatorship, you could teach people to read and to write, that you could provide health care to all people. So I think what happened, I find it very interesting that I saw what Barack Obama had to say when he was talking to Cubans, and he made the right point. He says, your economy is terrible. You're living in poverty. You've done some good things in healthcare and education. I agree with that. Obama said it, no problem. I said it, oh my God, the world is falling apart.
But you know, you're a democratic socialist. That was a socialist regime. You can understand why there's misperceptions.
No,
there's at least misperceptions.
Those are political attacks. It's not misperceptions. The views that I believe in, when it's healthcare for all, having a tax structure that is, look, we have an insane situation where Amazon, owned by the wealthiest guy in America last year, after making $11 billion in profit, didn't pay a nickel in taxes. Think that makes sense? Do you think it makes sense that we give tax breaks to billionaires and you have 500,000 people sleeping out on the street? They got 45 million people in student debt. We have to change the priorities. The only way we change priorities is taking on the economic and political special interests in this country. That's what my campaign is about.
Senator, there's been so much of the discussion focused on how you would pay for Medicare for all, but how would you actually pass it? If you look at the dissent coming from your rivals on the stage, there is not a lot of support from them for it. And also, if you look at the criticism you've received for not being able to pass much legislation in Congress,
well, that's
how do you actually do it?
How much time do you have? Yeah, I passed the most significant veterans legislation in modern history. We brought $11 billion more into primary care. 9 million people now have access to health care, previously not. Passed the first time the War Powers Act to get us out of the war in Yemen. So I reject categorically that we don't have a strong record.
All right, Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.